Hey, it's been a long journey, roughly 6 months since I started developing the Au Naturel modpack, and I thought now would be a good time to take stock, remind myself of where we came from, why we're here, what's going on, and just give a quick example of the current state of the project. So if you've seen my first video, you'll know that I started developing Au Naturel to sort of create this sort of natural world simulator, thinking about what Minecraft survival could be. Um, Changing things up because my son started playing Minecraft, and I hadn't really done much since back in the pre-Microsoft days. Um, yeah, and the sort of free alphas and things, and I'd noticed that people had changed a lot of things, and a lot of new things had come in, and I wanted to take things back to a sort of survival game, but since Minecraft was invented or created, the community has come out with so much stuff that basically just asking me to put it all together and to create this natural world simulation. Um, and now I've been working on it. The original version came out, my sort of first version of this mod pack for 1.19.2. Had a complete remap of the thing to 1.20.1. And this is the current state. This is version 2.8 something. Little bit, it's a bit of a dev version. A little bit after the one that was released online, I think a couple of days or a day or two before this video. And there's still been a few changes since then, so it's not a live version. There'll probably be more changes before the next release. But this is, I'm just going to do a little walk around and just comment on all of the things, well, all of the things that draw my mind as to the things that have happened in Au Naturel over the last 6 months since I started this project. Let's go. Now, obviously, you probably already started noticing some of the particles there from the, I don't know what they're called, puffball flowers. Kind of cool in their own way. You may or may not have noticed that I have an embodiment. I am embodied. There is my body. It is real. I see it in first person. I always feel it in first person. So if you look to your left, you see your shoulder. If you look to your right, you see your other shoulder. You look down, you see your hands and your feet. Okay. One of the things that I've been sort of happy with, really happy with, is trying to get all of these biomes together to work with what is it, Terralith, and I always forget their names. There's 5 or 6 biome packages in this, but is it Terra Blender? Terra Blender is the one that tries to mix them all together. And it's a really groovy little mod, but tends to mess up the relative sizes. But through a lot of trial and error, I believe I've managed to finally fix that. And I've gotten the mod biome sizes to be what I would consider large and respectable. So we don't just have little patches now. But I don't think they're too large. I think they're just large enough to feel realistic. So as you can see in front of us here, that forest is big enough to be a forest. You can walk in it for a fair while, and you'll still be in the forest. And if you're on survival, and you're not able to sort of look around and capture many bearings, you can very easily lose your way when you enter a forest, because they're so big and so deep that you could walk through this forest for a long time before you come out the other side, if you do. Of course, we've got the stamina system, but we're on creative, so that's not going to affect us. There's lots of, I'm going to say roughly 300 biomes. Now, most people say that, adding too many biomes is a waste of time. Usually I would agree with them, but in this instance I disagree, because the entire point of this thing is to have a decent amount of replayability where you are not going to face the same challenges or the same experience or the same beauty or anything like that in any run-through. So every game is going to be different. Ooh. The way that music just cuts out. So as you walk through this forest, notice that there's added in a lot of 3D ground cover, including 3D twigs and sticks from one of the mods. That's primarily your source of sticks early game. Obviously we've got the falling leaves and things effects too. We've added in some various mushrooms effects. I don't know if those are vanilla mushrooms or not. Let's have a look around and see if we can find some more exotic ones. They might not be here. All sorts of other sort of just detritus and things, more ground cover, more flowers on the ground. Lots more sort of natural things like that. Really gives the world a sort of lived in field. Yeah, the logs from, I think, Quark and other mods, and I don't know if that's from Quark or not, but the sort of shelf fungi there. Lately just merged in Mushroom Quest, I think it is. And obviously edited it with some more resource and data packs, but yeah, just a lot more sort of immersive fungal life throughout the world now. You'll be happy to know. Now, when upgrading, I think it was the 2.7, we had a lot of performance issues, and 2.8 was primarily a performance-focused version release, trying to carve that in. So there's a lot of performance stuff going on in the background now. Hopefully that's going to hold together through all future endeavors and versions. I think it's just, yeah. Hey, Mr. Bear. Thank God we're in creative. Ah, yeah, so one of the other things that came out in version 2.7 was just culmination of all of the respawn rules. So I've gone through and manually combined the however many, I think it's roughly, well, who knows, 1,000 or so mobs that are in this game, 300 or something biomes, changed the spawn locations of all of them to ever their respective biomes, changed their spawn weights, so now you have biome appropriate life from all of the mods in all of the appropriate biomes. That took a shitload, if I may be frank, amount of time, but it was a bit of a fun endeavor, and now I know several things about various biomes and creatures that I never knew before. It's not, you may be able to appreciate, hello, you may be able to appreciate that this is not an attempt to recreate the world in the sense that it creates our countries and our continents and things like that. The biomes have become more realistic in these later versions of Minecraft. Oh, you can hear Present's footsteps there. It changes your footstep noises as you change the materials that you walk on, which is another beautiful piece of immersion. So it's not trying to like create Australia and Africa or things like that. It's more about creating various biomes from those places, but that means that the mobs in this haven't actually evolved in their own little islands and things like that. So you've got to make some calls sometimes about whether you'd have in real life two types of native animals that could never actually meet or coexist with each other, but they do exist in very similar biomes. And so in Au Nautrel, you'll sometimes find some of those creatures together, and that's a conscious choice. You know, there'll still be desert creatures, but they might not be creatures that you see. So if you see some kangaroos and some elephants or something like that together, it's not necessarily a mistake. In fact, it isn't a mistake. It's meant to happen. And, you know, if there's any sort of grievously erroneous mobs, feel free to join the Discord and let me know so I can fix them up. But otherwise, it's been a complete reweighting of all mob spawns. Ah! Alright. Speaking of mobs, there's some more shelf fungi and things on these trees here. Very nice. You see the tree saplings, which both auto-plant and have seasons in which they grow and do not grow. I mean, some of them grow, many of them grow all year round. Some of them grow, most of them grow spring, summer, autumn. Only sort of fail to grow in winter. Pause to grow in winter, and yeah, another sort of thing is going through, I've adjusted all the food values, all the thirst values. I've adjusted all the growing rates for the growing rates and seasons for all of the food and all of the plant items. So that's taken care of and balanced now too. Yay! What else has evolved? Realistic fire spread. If an animal catches fire, they'll run through the fire and spread it through their surrounds. You can craft fire spreading arrows as well, although I've never actually done so outside of testing. I've adjusted the temperature settings to be a little bit more survivable, but you'll still die in many biomes if you don't have any sort of protection. And then some biomes will be almost impossible to start and survive in. Oops, no. Ah. Alright, let's just cheat and fly, yeah? Now, I mentioned the biome sizes. My goal has been to create actual forests, actual biomes. You don't want this sort of feeling, of having too many pockets. You do sometimes still get pockets of biomes and things like that. That definitely happens, and they look very organic. Maybe like these sort of pine trees up here. Let's see if they're a good example at this stage. Or it might stretch off into a very interesting another tall, I say pine, I've got no idea what tree they actually are. Let's go over there and have a look. See what's going on. Now I've updated the shader settings, shader pack as well. So we continue to get these beautiful auroras. Currently they're set on relatively randomized colors, so the effect is different each night. The weather and the moon phase affects how light and how visible everything is at night. So at the moment it's a half moon. So it's sort of like mid-range night level. If it's ever a new moon or pitch black or clouds, rain, thunderstorms, or things like that, then you just get it's almost pitch black at night, except for your light sources, of course. Is that ice? Is it the kind of ice I can walk on? Alright, rather than go out further into sort of the Arctic hellscapes, I might turn around and see about going back this way. Oh, now I've got a number of items here as well, just to sort of show you other fixes, other changes from base Minecraft. You know how in base Minecraft you've got this whole ice boat thing? Well, behold. No more zooming around on a boat on ice. Hooray. Ah. To take this opportunity to get into a boat, which has wakes. Also, yeah, water effects and trails. Ripples on not only on the boat, but also other life and things breaking the surface of the water. Very dark at night. In case I didn't mention it, the stars are now, with the latest version of the shaders, I think even nicer. Looking very good. Minor particle effects and the like in the water. All sorts of things. Since it's so dark, let's take an opportunity to possibly talk about some of the lighting and things like that. We still have realistic torches and realistic campfires. They'll go out in the rain. We still have pollution effects, all of the things from the original. Ah, look at this. This is kind of cool. All of the pollution effects from the original Au Naturel are still in here. All of the general fire effects, limitations on fire. You now, of course, start with flint tools through gravel. Have to sort of build your way up through them. Is it just me, or is it? Yeah, no, I think these are really pretty. You build your flint tools up through your general tech stack. Whew. Oh, watch out, ice. What else is there? Let's see. Maybe I'll think about it. Boat. Possibly put down a campfire. Campfire. Start it up with fire starter now. You hit it right. Because I'm on creative, it doesn't matter. I don't think we have our cursor space, or have I turned that off? I think there's a minimal cursor, so you do target things. Oh, that does remind me. There's efficient block placement, so you can hold down right click and run along, and you'll place things. There's not in 2.8, but in this 2.8 dev version, and probably in the next release, I've added subtle effects mod. Subtle effects, subtle something mod. See these nice little sparks and lights coming off the campfires look really nice in my humble opinion. Campfires, of course, create heat and protect you from the cold. What other awesome things have we put in? Let's have a look at this hand. Boats. Oh, haha, chalk. Chalk, chalk, chalk. This was a late or an early edition, sort of like somewhere between this version and early editions. People might not have seen it. There'll be various sort of, you know, White Cliffs of Dover and things like that, biomes and other things that you can sometimes get by looking around. And the chalk, when you can craft it from those, either that or it drops naturally, what do? You look at the block. If you want to draw an arrow that way, you hold the chalk in your hand, you right click, and there you go. Arrow on that side of the block. Want it pointing the other way? There you go. Want it pointing up? There you go. What about in the center? Dot. There are some other commands and things, but even just the ability to scratch directions and things, given that there's no early game access to a map or anything like that, I think is one of the sort of cool additions. What else do we have? Let's... Campfires, fire starter. Oh yes, my favorite. Look, this is probably... So this mod is not designed for... well, it's designed for farming, as in like growing crops and things like that. It's not designed in the sense of mob farms or item farms, iron farms, things like that. You are expected to actually go out into this world, explore it, figure out how you're going to get things, where you're going to find them. There's no villages, so you actually have to engage with the natural world and figure out how to survive, rather than just going finding the first bed. Beds, incidentally, also different in this game. It won't fast thingy through the night or anything like that, so you have to make sure you're very safe and warm before you fall asleep. But anyway, so one of the things that always shat me about Java Minecraft was the people who would use hacks, and, well, I say hacks, I mean, you know, other people call it part of the game, hacks and things of underwater air pockets to try to sort of negate the mechanisms of swimming and air, to try to mine, get an advantage by going into waters and things like that. Now, aside from waters making things exceptionally, well, I say exceptionally cold, there are warm rivers and cold rivers, things like that. So this time, if you try and put a door down underwater, look what happens. Nothing. Not a thing. Good luck. No more creating air pockets for you. No more mining underwater. You'd better actually treat water like it's water. Better treat mining like it's mining. Okay. Any other things? Ah, rotten food. So we've got the spoiled mod in here, which turns, you know, gives food a time frame, and we've added the salt mod and added some compatibility with that. Okay, those pigs are always rather grumpy. Added in the salt mod, so when food spoils, as it eventually will, without ice boxes or salt in this case. It used to turn into rotten flesh. Well, now it turns into this rotten food item. And the rotten food item is just basically a replacement. More natural, can be composted, turned into bone meal, and used to feed your garden. Alright, we're looking at another nice sunrise here. I think that might be a big mushroom or two, either. Oh yeah, and just look at the, added fungi and things on some of these trees that you can see now. I can't remember how many kinds of fungi there are from the Mushroom Quest mod, but they, yeah, really sort of spice up the feel of the place. Anyway, what was I talking about? Rotten food, spoilage. So, yeah, that works out really well now. We've now got genuine rotten food. And, oh yeah, salt, which you can use to salt your foods and stop them from spoiling. Also a nice thing. Oh, of course, you've got to find a source of salt to use it if that's your thing. Otherwise, you're going to have to deal with it. I've also added in changes so you can eat food when you're full. Maintain a bit of saturation that way, but more importantly, because I've edited all of the variables around thirst and hunger values, it means that you won't necessarily die of thirst if you have a food that gives you some moisture in your inventory, but your food is full but your thirst is not. So, say grapes or apples or other things. If you have particularly moist food types, they will give you back a bit of thirst. Which is groovy, if you ask me. All sorts of things. So, just talking more about just the really finicky details. There's just so much detail in this world now. You may or may not have picked up that mob sizes have been changed, edited. So spiders, which are in this mod pack, and not just everyday spiders, but I think it's NIF spiders, or the ones that can climb and hang from ceilings and go upside down and things like that. They're in here, but they're not the same size as they are in regular Minecraft. They're about the size of those grass tufts, and that makes them a lot harder to see and a lot, in many ways, scarier because you're never entirely sure where they are. Other mobs, like these little water skaters, I've adjusted the size to be very, very small. Other mobs have been enlarged. Pigs are a little bit smaller. Cows, I think, are a little bit bigger. Made just a number, and we'll probably continue fine-tuning various mob sizes to see if we can make that just a little bit more realistic. What other stuff do we have? Anything? Of course, water buckets. Be careful when jumping off of high areas. If the water is not deep enough, you will hurt yourself now, so you can forget that old trick of jumping off a high area and using a water bucket to cushion your fall, because you're just going to go splat. Now, the thing about these caves, aside from being exceedingly cool often, that's a little river dolphin, I think you just heard. Aside from being exceedingly cool, let's see a cute little otter there. Where was he? Somewhere around here. Maybe he blew himself up. Oh, is that him over there? There we go. So, caves are dangerous. And there's a variety of cave biomes. Oh, God, you can never... I really need light or something to go through here. Anyway, I think I'm about to... Ooh. Ah, rain effects. So anyway, I could probably talk forever. Suffice to say, there is a range of adaptations. You can see as we move into this winter mod, the season one starts to add snow, starts to melt when it gets warmer. It's just early spring, so when you start this game by default. So what you find, let's see if we can get some thunder or something going. Ah, yes, the shaders by default. Now, just for the record, it's perfectly legitimate and possible to play this game without shaders, and if you do so, your performance should be much, much better in terms of frame rates and things like that than what you see here. But the shaders shall create these nice little puddle effects as well, make the world look nice and wet, and they also, yeah, saw some of the lightning strikes. Hello, Mr. Rhino. I think Rhino is one of the bigger mobs in the game now. So yeah, I've come a long way. Alright, future development goals. See if we can figure out, you know, just sand off the edges. I originally said that it'd take me probably about to Christmas to sort of get this natural world feeling finished, and I think I'm more or less on track for that as we speak. Just, you know, improving day by day. I had a minor scare on version 2.7 about the performance. Have managed to fix that, I hope, so that's hopefully fixed going forward as well, via the help of several mods, including In Control and others. Where do I want to take it from here? Once I've gotten... Oh, there was one of those little spiders that I was talking about, I think. Of course. Is that he? Yeah, there he is. Hello. Of course, once we've got the world simulation more or less complete, or at least in a sort of fixed and final... Well, not final form. I'm planning to fork Au Naturel off into several more development versions. We'll probably do another modpack version built off this world where we start adding in some structures and some ruins and things like that. And then past that, we're probably going to start adding in the other dimensions and bring some of the monsters back in and start another fork. Make it very much sort of like the Minecraft survival game that always could have been. I plan to bring in better nether, better end. I've already tested those and got those working. I don't think I mentioned it, but with Sinitra Connector, we have access to a lot of fabric mods that we have in version 1.20.1, which we never had under version 1.19.2, which is one of the reasons I wanted to look at that white rabbit in the snow. Perfect. One of the reasons that I wanted to upgrade from the original version, because it lets us make the world a lot more richer, and now we can access mods like Better End, Better Nether. Now, they're not going to come into Au Naturel, but possibly in the future fork of a general Minecraft survival game where we'll bring back in the zombies and the endermens. Plan to bring in those two dimensions and possibly the ether as well. And if I'm really masochistic, I might even draft up some sort of loose story or narratives around what's going on. But by combining this sort of natural world with all of those things, we'll bring in some sort of structures, possibly some villages back in eventually. But this is all very long-term development goals. At the moment, it's currently sort of halfway through November 2024. Aimed to finish this up, or at least get a really good working basis of this natural world sim by my original timeline was December 2024. I think I'm more or less on track for that. Yeah, so then we'll fork off into some of the additions and think about where we're going to take development from there. But for now, if anyone wants to get online, it's available on CurseForge. I'll try and put the link in the description. Look at that snow leopard, I'm pretty sure. Put the link in the description. If anyone wants to get on and just test this thing out, find some bugs, join the Discord, tell me what works and what doesn't. I've already had some very helpful feedback. That would be great. And with that, get off this snow. Maybe, let's see, I've got no idea where I've been going. Maybe we can drop down here. Have a look at this cave and see whether it's a special cave biome or anything. In case you haven't picked up, there's dynamic surroundings, sounds, and various other ambient noises and environment effects. This cave looks relatively boring. I'm pretty sure that was a spider back there. I say relatively boring. I mean, it's pretty in here with the lighting and all, but relative to some of the other cave biomes, this one's relatively plain. Anyway, it's probably time for me to sign off. This has been a bit ranty, and no offense to YouTube, but it doesn't seem to do very well with the some deep dark biomes, things like that. Now, you know, we don't have the warden in our Naturel, but I still like to keep the deep dark just as a sort of a general, almost a sort of a deep fungusy cave effect. Haven't found it too often, to be honest, so it's kind of cool to see it down here. Still not one of the best or most spectacular cave biomes, but nonetheless. Anyway, I was saying that YouTube's not exactly the greatest in terms of the compression on these sort of deep, dark and black biomes, so you probably can't see as much as what I'm seeing here, which is not very much, to be honest. Alright, I'm going to sign off. That's enough. That's sort of the status of Au Nautrel 2.8 as of about halfway through November.